And I just continued to get worse. And while I was in coma, I traveled in and out of my body. Like I traveled to, like I saw myself in a procedure room, and I saw, or I heard some of the people from the church I was a part of come to sit and sing and things like that. But that was when everything started. So my near-death experience started with me going in and out of my body until I then started crashing completely. So I traveled into other dimensions, and I traveled in to space as well. One of the things that made me realize that was after my whole experience, I kind of took a lot of time to process it and think about it, because I was not so much freaked out by it, but I was just kind of like, what just happened? You know, just really shocked. And I started remembering different scriptures from the Bible. One of them that says, "In my Father's house, there are many rooms." And so when I was with my guides kind of told me, and everything was telepathic, that the rooms are actually dimensions. So when that scripture says that, you're in different dimensions. So I traveled to different dimensions, and I saw different outcomes of certain things that were happening, like an alternative outcome of something that was happening on the world stage, maybe, or something that was happening in my life, that, you know, something that could have taken place in a different dimension. So these two of the guides were adults. One was female, one was male. The male, did not look like it was anyone who was my relative. They were angelic. The third one looks like my daughter, but I knew that that wasn't actually my daughter, because that guide was very quiet, but just kind of like, she looked exactly like my daughter. And then I found out that that guide was there to kind of keep me anchored and keep me fighting to come back, because I probably would have just decided to stay. But when I travel into different dimensions or travel different places, my guides would tell me and teach me things by telling me to merge into different situations. When I was there's so many things that happened when I went to space as well, and I traveled through space and saw nebula, and it was absolutely beautiful. And when I was traveling, I wasn't thinking about, you know, how I was traveling. I wasn't thinking about why am I traveling, um, or, you know, what was going on. I realized that that I couldn't see my hands. I couldn't see my body. And then my guide said that I was an orb, and I realized that I was an orb. And then I kind of embraced that, but I didn't question why I was an orb, which I find really strange and interesting to me, that I didn't have any questions about where I was and what I was doing. I was just in a childlike state where I was just following my guide's instructions and going where I was encouraged to go. And it felt very freeing. And it felt very like I wasn't thinking about responsibilities. I wasn't thinking about, you know, I wasn't even thinking about my child, honestly, at that point. I was just in the moment with the creator, with my guides, and just, it was beautiful, and I was embracing it. And after the fact, after this, all of this, I went in analyzing it, I realized that when people see orbs and spirits, a person's entire being is in that entire orb. their whole consciousness. They think that, you know, whatever their body looks like, it's in that orb. Like they believe that their whole body is there. And so that was such a different perspective for me, because I've seen videos and things of, like, say, you know, paranormal stuff, and people see orbs. And then you know that that's a spirit, but to actually be on the other side and see that your spirit soul being is inside of an, you know, without a body, just a circular orb, was just fascinating to me.